Mr. Hume, Daniel says he's in the waiting room. Mr. Hume, Daniel says he's in the waiting room.
I already joined.
Mr. Hume, Daniel says he's in the waiting room.
I already joined.
Hi guys, I'm Mr. Hume. I'm the IB film teacher, and thank you so much for joining us on YouTube for the very first ever IB Online Film Festival. Today we're going to spend about 25 minutes or so watching this video, and then we'll switch to a Zoom chat, which we're going to stream. It'll have the guys from the Film 2 class on it, and they'll be available to answer any questions you might have after watching the films. The video you're going to watch is around 25 minutes or so, and the first part of it is 3 films that I've asked people in the first year film class to contribute. So we have a little piece from Vaiva, a slightly longer piece from Tim, and a part of a short film that Polly made before she came to KIS, and we've used that as one of the resources in the directing unit. After that, we'll switch over and we'll look at the work that was produced in the Film 2 classroom. We'll begin with some very carefully chopped together interviews that I did with the guys, asking them about the work and about how they feel about it, and then we'll have a look at their film. While you're watching, feel free to type any questions you might have in the comments. Omar, Hasan, and Daniel, like I said, they're going to come on after this video, and they will answer questions by reading them from the comment. I really, really hope you enjoy it. I'm so proud of the work these guys did. Obviously, this campus shutdown had a huge impact on the way they were able to work, and the fact that their plan was malleable and flexible and robust enough to survive that torpedo to the waterline is incredible. And I think the film that they wound up with is also a pretty incredible piece of work, and I'll let you enjoy. I hope you have a great time. Thank you so much for being here. I hope you enjoy it.
I think that the answer is no.
Really?
Why would I want to fly? I'd rather be invisible, and I could check who's cheating during my tests.
No, that would be horrible. Flying gives you a sense of freedom and peacefulness. Invisibility isn't as fun as it looks.
Oh, really? I'm sorry, I need to get this. It's my wife. Yes? I'm in school. You think I won't make it? Okay. Bye. I'm so sorry, I have to go. My wife has reserved a table for dinner. Can we finish this sometime later? Or I'll get someone who's part of the student council.
Yeah. I can stay though.
I don't know about that.
No, really, it's okay. It's not a problem.
I don't think that's smart.
No, I'll stay. Really, it's not a problem.
Okay, just this once, just because there's so much. Just make sure you have a ride home. I don't want any incidents.
Of course, no problem.
Okay, lock up before you leave. Bye.
Goodbye. Mr. Brooke, you forgot your wallet.
Hey Steve, you got a second?
Yeah, I was just gonna shut down the whole thing for tonight.
Alright, I just want to ask, how much longer are we gonna be working on this?
Oh, that's a good question. I honestly don't know. Probably less than a month though, because we either get a working build by then, or we drop the whole thing.
Alright, I'm looking forward to not sitting in a cramped room anymore.
Yeah.
Where's the off sound?
Crap, now nobody's here. This is great.
Yeah, we should probably just shut it down. Alright, it was...
Excuse me? I refuse to deal with this sort of shit right now.
Wait, what was that?
Well, this is going to be interesting.
Wait, what do you mean?
You know full well, Thought 246.
No, I don't. Buckle up.
This doesn't look anything as I expected it to.
Early tonight. Usually she lasts longer. Look at you, 09. Yellow. A few months and you'll become a leitmotif.
You're right.
What are you talking about? So white and innocent. Where did you come from in the first place?
I like grapes.
Just choose your side, kid, and stick with it. Unless you want to disappear in 10 minutes.
$5, this kid won't last long. I am a disaster.
Yes. Yes, you are indeed. Shut your mouth, 09. She's great. Didn't you see Jamie's reaction to the latest thing she drew?
24's right. He liked it. Especially the elephant skin part. So, let's agree that you're good at drawing.
Good. Yeah. I'm good, aren't I?
Very unique. I would say it's a story about a tormented person. We're treating it through the perspective of the anti-hero, but he's still the protagonist. He's the main character of the short film, but he's still an anti-hero. He's still someone who's gonna try to commit a crime, like something that that's commonly known like around society as a crime, and it's frowned upon.
Instead of us having the victim being focused on, we instead have the intruder perhaps being focused on.
We humanize this character who we just see tormented, but also we see a very dark side of.
We kind of want to show the hierarchy of the school dynamic and see how that can be battled against. We started off with Blackguard Assembly just simply by brainstorming ideas in a film 2 roundtable.
So I heard the pitches that we had and the pitch that we went for specifically, and I said, how about we do it from the point of view of the intruder instead of the victims. And that just snowballed into this huge idea.
Someone entering a house, and whether that's shot from the perspective of the victim or the one entering the house, showcasing school hierarchy, the issues within school.
I used Write to Direct to write the script. So basically, it's like this, it gives you like all like the tools you need to actually write like correctly format the script. So when the cast reads it, you know like what you're supposed. If this is action, they need to say this here. They need to wait here. They need to do this.
When it came to the storyboard, I tried to want to do something a little more unique rather than drawing. I was just speaking to my brother one day, and just luck behold, he told me about this software regarding called Storyboarder. It was actually really good, and what Storyboarder was essentially was that you could quickly visualize your ideas, and then the camera would be in a certain FOV angle, a certain perspective, and then you have two people, two mannequin ragdolls just pasted into the screen, so that you could convey the energy in the scene, or the purpose, or the dynamic between two characters.
Well, I used the standard audio editing software that's like most recognizable, Audacity. But for the most part, I used Ableton, which is a music production audio editing software that is pretty versatile. Although I had my fair share of troubles with the software, I still managed to get through it and make the soundtrack. Some of the edits, audio edits I made were done in Premiere Pro with the clip inserted. I guess we kind of matured over half a year.
As a group, we had like, as any group does, we had like inconsistencies where we like didn't like agree with each other, we disagreed, and it was like very frustrating.
As you like to say, there was a lot of no buts instead of yes and.
But also, I think being a group and having worked with each other for 2 years now, we were able to create chemistry to get like get through and pass these hardships, and we're able to come to compromises.
I guess I would wrap it up in one phrase: 3 heads are better than 1.
And ultimately helped create a better film.
I would compare this to like a 3-way tug of war that we all ended up winning somehow.
So give me a second.
Getting production done early.
I would have to agree with Hasan on the best part. I think it was the production.
I think best part was our organization. Because of organization, we were able to actually like quarantine wasn't really like a barrier or a limit for us because we already had everything done beforehand. It's the reason why I think our film turned out as good as it did turn out.
A lot of people gathered in one place, and we worked, but we also had fun.
And the worst part was probably
working with composing.
Me being the screenwriter, I had to create a strong, entertaining story which had potential. Like, yeah, of course, like stylistic devices, some devices matter in a film, but without a good plot.
And I have extremely terrible perfectionist tendencies.
Me being the one to actually write the script, I think that burden also was part of the worst.
So I tried to perfect the soundtrack as much as I could, but I also kept in mind that I don't have that much time left.
It'll take me a while to list everyone, but
I'm sorry, it's been a long time in quarantine. My mind's kind of rusty.
Well, first and foremost, I think I should thank both my classmates.
There's Mr. Hume.
Our teacher, Mr. Hume.
There's Jesse, of course.
Jesse isn't with us here, but I'd like to thank him. Him being around and doing a lot of the work, and in regards to cinematography and visualizing what there was on the storyboard, couldn't thank him more for that. Then there's Evan.
There's Evan.
Georgia. There's Azamat.
There's Daniel.
There's Sebastian.
Danielle.
Daniela. Zuza for makeup.
There's Zuza W, secondary 3-1.
Sofia Surjak for makeup.
There's Tura.
Miss Olga for providing us with some props necessary in the production stages.
So Georgia Feekins.
Vaiva was an actor. He was one of the Blackguards. He did the acting.
Miss Effendi, Hasan's mom, she was like also a very big part in like production and like shooting. Without her, we wouldn't like have a place to shoot in.
Yeah, I mean both my parents, but other than that, my mother was, thank you, bless her, and just making people feel comfortable at home, and I must thank her for that. We wanted to risk it.
It's very unique.
From our side, at least, we know the value of the work we put into it.
I know how much effort went to it, but I also know the challenges and the risks we took to actually create the film and bring out a product which the viewers will see.
We started off with an idea that we thought had a lot of potential, and we just stuck with it, and we're very determined to make sure that it was something different.
I think they were very brave, and it was a very brave move to do, and to see how they will pay off, I think is very rewarding.
we just wanted to make a story that was enthralling, something that could attract a student's attention.
Just university, and we'll see how it goes from there. Yeah.
I would say this anecdote that my forehead is brighter than my future.
Thank you for watching our movie.
We hope you enjoyed.
Yeah.
You hear what happened to Mr. Lick? Fired, reported his computer.
No way.
Hey, Stacy, how you doing?
Hey, Marcus.
So,
Yeah?
I was kind of wondering.
Strike one!
Hey, stop it, please!
What? Why? You like him or something?
No, it isn't like that!
Hey, Hank.
Shut up and come here!
Look, come on, dude.
Hey! What'd you do that for?
Strike!
Guys, please stop!
Stacy, I'll deal with you later. Ray, come here or you'll be next. I run!
Starting a fight. How am I here? I thought I was at school.
Did you hear me? If you're gonna start a fight, win it. You need to be more of a man. You have nothing to say? I'm gonna go get a drink. You disgrace.
Yeah, be just like that. Go and never come back. Hello? I need to finally win a fight. Who's we? Hello? Hello? Hello?
What the f are you doing here, man? Hey.
I saw your chat with Stacy.
Dude, you better get out of here. You'll regret it.
Give it to me.
What?
Anything, give it.
Oh, okay.
Ugh.
Down, man.
Strike
What are you
free.
doing, man? What are you doing?
That ain't gonna scare me.
How about... Oh, why won't it budge?
Dude, let us go, man.
Come on, guys. You all know it's too late for that. If I were you, I'd run. I'm not the only one here.
Hello, boys.
And I'll say it again. Run.
Who are you? Why are you doing this?
Marcus is showing him all I know. He's done things for us, and we're doing things for him.
Leave me alone, you creeps!
I can't do that. Marcus is finally winning the fight.
Fuck you!
You know what? You sound just like Marcus's sister. But you're really not like her. The only way to hurt someone like you is to really hurt you. That's the word.
Final exam time. Marcus, are you in or are you out?
Hey everybody, I just want to do a quick check here and I want to go in with the guys who are actually in the Zoom call. Omar, can you hear me? Maybe if I turn my mic on. Can you guys on the call hear me?
Yeah,
Yeah.
we can hear you.
Daniel, you've got there's a little chirp on your mic, so if you wouldn't mind just keeping yourself on mute unless you're actually
All right.
And now I can see that the stream is going on. I just want to check in with Mrs. Steven. Can you hear my voice over there? Give me a second to get my microphone on. Sorry, this is a brand new format. Okay, good, yeah. Hi, live stream audience at home. I'm watching comments come pouring in on the YouTube. I've got Zoom open on one screen and YouTube open on my phone, so we've all sorts of stuff to keep track of. Please forgive me if I make some mistakes. The very first thing I want to do is introduce the guys. Hasan, if you can just show us this moment to go get a cup of tea or something. Oh, here he comes back now. Hasan Effendi directed the film we saw there, Blackguard Assembly. Daniel Tishi was responsible for the sound design and a big part of the story design concept, and Omar, he had a huge job to do as well. So, if you want to just, I see clap, 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 come pouring in here. That is fantastic to see. If you have a question, we changed this up, so there was bad directions in the video that you watched. If you want to ask a question, there's a link to this Zoom conversation in the description of the live stream. Click that, and I'll see your name pop up in the waiting room. And when we have a second, I'll let you into the chat. You can ask your question, and then I'll drop you off the chat so the guys can answer it. Looks like we have the first question coming from Susanna, so we'll let her in. And maybe.
Mr. Hume, they're saying they cannot hear you during the stream. Mr. Hume, would you like me to send something through the chat invite telling them that you basically told them that there's a link to the Zoom call? Yeah, there's a link to the Zoom call. Mr. Hume just basically went over the fact that people can join through the description link. So if any of you have questions, please feel free to join through. And yeah.
I heard that. Yeah, I can hear you. First of my question was the lighting at the very beginning. Like it was really overexposed and I liked it a lot. But the mood you created by sound was like creepy, and in my head I would more see darkness and like low light. But you went really like high. Why that? Like what was behind that?
It's a little hard to hear you, but I'm guessing you were asking about the overexposed intro, like at the very start. The implication behind that was if you watch, like my inspiration was off the film Dread, which is like, it's basically off the genre of Judge Dredd, of like, it's cybercrime police stories. And there's a film released in 2012, which is an adaptation of the 80s version. And in Dread, what goes on is that when people take drugs, there's a specific drug called slow-mo, and that basically overexposes your screen and makes everything very slow motion, very echoey, very reverby. And the whole goal behind that was to show that Evan is like in a different world compared to everyone else. And like in Dread, it's similarly alike. People, when they take the drug, they enter a different world that basically doesn't correspond to whatever else reality actually is. So Evan is, it's just like a kind of way of showing that you're out of this world. In Dread, they do it by the intake of drugs, and in Blackguard, it's just by a social awkwardness at school.
Yeah, man. I just wanted to say it sounded really good. The lighting and the way they use mood in the video was phenomenal.
Thank you, sir.
So that was all. But thank you for entertainment.
It's my dad.
Yes, good afternoon. Uh, I also liked it. I really was impressed, and I thought it was really unexpected to do it so masterfully with such a limited resources. And I don't know who screenwriter, this a scenario writer who was.
Writer was Omar.
Yeah. Yes. It is based on some class story, school story, or what?
I originally, when we came up with the idea, it wasn't necessarily following along these lines. It was mainly following the idea of the intruder story. As Dad, you may know by as you watch a lot of Netflix.
Yeah.
There are like
I'm
some
joining you now.
yeah. So there are some shows that like they go over the intruder aspect, that there's someone in a house, they're trying to protect themselves, they get intruded, and there's a lot of maybe murder even. Of course, we cannot show this for a school environment, let alone for the IB guidelines for grading purposes. But the main goal with this film was to show the hierarchy in the school, like the social awkward kid, the bully, the girl that maybe like is kind of like the tool amongst these people, the attraction, and the kind of submissive minion. So it's kind of like a demonstration of all four of these, like to sum up what the hierarchy is in the school, like the symbolism of power that we have in high school. And you can say that all of us in IB film, I'm sure that Omar, Daniel, and even Mr. Hume can agree that we all kind of coined in on the fact that there are some things we can see in KAS that's reflective of that. And we wanted to show that in the film, perhaps in a more different medium, by following the horror sort of genre.
So very impressive, yeah. Yeah. And I should pay tribute to you, Mr. Hume. I think it's under your guidance. You have a very good team of future cinematographers, filmmakers, yes, and they feel acted well, filming well. I think I don't know how long it took to prepare all this, but I know that the shooting was one or a couple of days, if not less, and for in such span, yes, well done. Yeah. Congratulations, well done. Okay.
Surreal, kind of. It's like a near-death experience when you're dying and you're watching yourself in like a hospital.
I don't know. I think like the added pressure of like other people seeing it kind of like makes me feel nervous and like I wouldn't say embarrassing, but yeah, like nervous.
Yeah.
Yeah, kind of like the quality of the film we produced.
Yeah. I genuinely love when people are watching your film, the fact that you're given the ability to read like criticism, if anything, feedback, criticism, comments. It's kind of like an addiction, because you're just curious how people would react out of your own world, because we've always just watched it amongst ourselves.
Yeah.
Mm. Yeah, digital production. Yeah. For me, it's kind of like an addiction, in the sense that I really love it's maybe perhaps like a selfish pursuit in a sense, but it's like the fact that you can make something creatively and just like put all your effort into it, energy into it. At least that's how I work with creative work. And I just, put all that energy in and getting the result out of it and seeing how people react, how people, acknowledge it. It's just like, it's something that's very pleasant in a sense. And I just think that like everyone has their own creative ability. Creativity is one of those things that it doesn't have a pathway, and it's just so diverse. Oftentimes when you look at work that's more logical, like such as mathematics, business, so-called whatever, like lawful civil services, whatever, they often follow us like a certain path, and oftentimes many people that start in the university, they often end up as a lawyer or whatever they start as, they end up with their dream pursuit. Creativity or creative jobs, oftentimes it doesn't follow that path, and I think that that's what matters most, and it's just like the uniqueness and the unpredictability of it. Yeah.
Hello. Guys, that was pretty interesting stuff right there. The editing, everything, really, really cool. A little creepy for me though. A little scary. I got nervous, and we actually had to distract Levi with the iPad because we were like, yeah, this is not appropriate for him. I don't want him to think anybody's coming, into his room or something at night. But I have a question of, if you had more time, more resources, what would you change or develop more?
Well, that's a good question. I mean, considering we had a lot of planning time put into the film, and I think that we can all agree that our film, we planned it to be way bigger than what it turned out to be. That's just the reality of it, because by the time we finished planning, we kind of had the idea that this coronavirus was happening, but we took it kind of for granted, the fact that it would actually affect us later on. But we put around 3 days roughly maximum of shooting time. And I think this was a really big halt, in the sense that I didn't really have, as like a director, I didn't really have the choice for like a second take. Oftentimes directors have the ability to be like, oh, well, I don't really like this shot, maybe next week we can retake that. Or, well, I don't really like that moment, maybe we should get another actor, or maybe we should get a different prop, or maybe we should shoot at a different location. We didn't really have any of those privileges and vanities, and we just, whatever we had to work with, we just worked with that, and it was kind of just like, it is what it is. And I think that
Hasan, is there one thing that you would change? Like, if you could go back one more day and do it again.
one thing I would change is, like, in my personal opinion, I would like change, if I could, I would change the second half of the film after Evan wakes up, like, period. From that point on, I would change that. Perhaps some people might like it. In my opinion, it's just, it didn't have that much coherency from that point onwards, just because we didn't have any of those second takes, that perfect planning that we had at school, the organization. Most of it really was like later on in post-production. It was kind of like trying to revive, like, pick up the bones in the graveyard and just put them in the coffin. It's kind of like, by doing the editing and the sound design, Daniel and me would like stay up like almost like 5 nights in a row, just trying to like make sure that every single edit at least made the film look better than what it could be raw. And like, I don't want to be in that situation. I feel like you should just be able to shoot something that once you work with it, you kind of like are delighted by the fact that, oh, this is a great film. I don't even have to edit it for it to look good. But it's usually the opposite for the second half of the film.
Thanks a lot, Hasan. That's a great answer. Oh, now I can hear myself echoing here. Thank you for your question, Mr. Semeniuk. I'm going to bump you off the call. Ms. Geary, do you have a question?
Yeah, my question is how much, a great film, guys. I really enjoyed it. Very interesting. Like Mr. Semeniuk said, it was a little creepy for me, a little like disturbing. Yeah. I'm just curious, how much does the end product resemble what you envisioned at the start? So like how much does it shift as you're making it, particularly in these circumstances?
Honestly,
Yeah, wonderful question. I think that I'll let Omar answer first, but I think that for each person in this team, it was a different percentage in the sense that we all had a different vision. But yeah, Omar, you can carry on.
Yeah, honestly, because I was the person who like wrote the script. I wasn't the one who like edited. So like I also like saw the final product, and I was kind of like amazed as well, like seeing what I wrote and seeing it actually like how it like turned out with all the edits. I was like surprised. I wasn't even sure if like I was the one who wrote this film, because it was like with the edits and like the exposure and everything and how it turned out, it was like super different than I ever imagined.
So it's not how you envisioned it.
It's not how I envisioned it. It's a very interesting take, because I thought it would like look much more simpler, but then it's like it's super advanced, and I think this way turned out better because they were able to create a mood with the way they edited the film. So I think it's better, and like I think that the hard work and the long hours and like you stayed up like working on this film and like editing and making sure it's like turns out how we envisioned it even better really paid off.
I was talking with Daniel this morning, and I've been listening to the film with the headphones on, and it's the level of detail that he's added. What Omar's saying about how there's more than he could have pictured, that's really a function of the collaboration. Daniel's work really does add a lot to it, and it's kind of, I know we're sending out over the stream in mono, and I can hear an echo on my voice. The sound is probably not, even a version of what it would be if you could hear the original file, but it really is quite a piece of work.
Yeah, Daniel did an amazing job. And going back to your question, Ms. Curie, at the beginning, when we were first like visualizing the film through post-production, and once we had already entered quarantine, Mr. Hume and the class, we had like a protocol of making rough drafts. And as a director, because at the start, I don't really have all the sound designers, materials, and everything that he makes, I officially basically just get samples from the internet and gather those in. And originally, we had like a version of a film that's similar to what it was now, but it had like all these different sound effects. It's like basically the ideal. You have the whole orchestra supporting whatever you want them to hear, and it's hard for Daniel to replicate that, obviously. But like it's kind of we worked a lot off a reference, and if I was to answer like in regard to your question of like how much it is like resembling to what the final product is, in my honest opinion, I felt like it was like the skeleton to a human body. Perhaps we could have the skin to make and the muscle to put it more intact, but within a skeleton, you can already accustom to what the final product could be. You don't really, of course it looks creepy as you guys said, but also it's not fully like intact as we wanted it to be. There's a bunch of like film references I could point out, like I'll probably like send a link out like in the chat later on for films that people might want to see that this like Blackguard Assembly tried to like resemble or like inspire off of, at least from my director's point of view. And for like Omar, of course, as writer, it's a different story because he wrote it. And what Omar means like by the fact that like it surprised him was the fact that when we started this film, we really thought it was going in a different direction than what it actually ended up going for. Blackguard Assembly ended up, because we were aiming to do something controversial, that was our main goal. We were trying to do something that's not like, no offense to Postphone. Postphone was a great film as I saw last year. I just felt like I didn't want to do something that was bland in idea, in the sense that I wanted something that sparked controversy, something that the IB grader could look at. It's like, but this is a risk. Like it's nothing that someone can just look at and it's like white noise. It's more like not that it's good, but it's also nothing that's like just normal or ordinary. And we wanted to do something on the borderline of controversy, to the extent that the IB grader could grade it and not harm our grades, but also it leaves a thought in people. And like, because we aimed at this, it only, in the border of all of this, it's like you don't really know where you're going to end up, because there's all these ways of making it controversial but not too controversial. And we sort of were like shifting the whole time. We weren't really sure which one we're going to end up with. Maybe we're going to have a murder happen, or maybe there's going to be some blood in the scene, or maybe we don't even have any of that. Maybe there's no intruder, maybe there's no actors resembling any like hackers, whatever. It's like there's a lot of paths that we're going to go to basically deliver the same message and in the same premise of controversy. But obviously we ended up with this, and I'm glad with how it ended up. But as I said, it's bare bones to what it could have been.
There's always that compromise between what you're trying to do and what you have the resources to do. Some of the resources are financial rather. Some of them are equipment and talent. You do what you can where you are, what you have. But I assure you that film changed a lot on the way through the pipeline. Daniel's original idea was super provocative and genuinely scary. And it was the development process went through a bunch of different iterations and compromises, and how do we make it and then use it for our IB grade and stay true to what the guys want to express.
Yeah, if we compare this to our original idea, this would look like a Disney film. Yeah, so it was way off.
Thank you so much for your question, Ms. Geary. Thank you for joining us. Yeah. I see Ms. Hume is on the call. Looks like she's got a question.
Just a short one, actually, for each of you. If you could say one thing that you learned that you would want to pass on to next year's IB film class, because you did make reference to last year's IB film class, what would be one thing you would tell next year's class that you learned?
Omar, you want to take that one first?
I'll take it. This is a bit cliche, but do not procrastinate. It's my biggest sin, and I think I'll go to hell for it. They make excuses.
Your mic's muted.
I think one thing is like for them to like review their work and reread, because like I remember for the first time, like when I wrote the script, I read it and I hadn't like the first draft I hadn't like reviewed it, and then after the read I find all these stuff that can be improved upon, and also that other stuff that can be changed. So if they get into the habit of always making sure that like the work they produce is like up to the like utmost standard and like what it, and it's at its highest potential, then I think that can just open them up to higher like grade boundaries. Yeah.
Definitely collaboration. We, especially in our IB film group, no grudges held against anyone, but like we're in our grade, I would even say we're like a whole bunch of very entitled people. We're very strong in opinion. We're very ambitious, and it's a very good thing. But when it comes to teamwork, and when it comes to people who are not used to teamwork, especially, it becomes this conflict aura where at the very start it was like battlefield. It was like World War III. Like you just like we're like battling ideas. We're throwing spears at each other. It's just like there was all this conflict. But then eventually we settled in at like at a midpoint where we could agree. And I think it's very important that those who go to IB film, and I really recommend this class for its practical and like not just most classes in KIS, like generally most classes in education, they're very theoretical in nature. Oftentimes only when you go to college you start practicing and you start doing all these lab stuff, and you do like the master's thesis paper, and there's like all the application there. IB film is the main exception for me, than the fact that there's a lot more practice and theory. Perhaps for IB Film 1 students, they start learning, they start indulging in literature and film knowledge and so forth. But in IB Film 2, it really is just like a testing ground, like a demolition derby, where like everyone just gets to put their creative ideas and put those into use, and it's a pure spotlight for anyone who wants to showcase their creative talent. And I'm sure there's a lot of people in KIS that have this ability, and well, anyone should anyway. But yeah, the practical nature of it really demands people to collaborate with each other, and if you're not good at collaboration, I recommend you take IB Film, just because it's the best way to train it, and under any circumstance, not just filmmaking, because filmmaking is probably one of those arts that's very demanding in the fact that you listen to others and you work with others. And if you can't do that in filmmaking, you probably can't do that anywhere else. So that's my point in that. Yeah. Thanks.
Well, I guess as an introvert, coronavirus was not really a big deal for me. I enjoy being alone and away from everyone, but also I see how that hindered our ability in filmmaking, because filmmaking is obviously a collaborative art that people have to be together to work on. And it's going to be hard if we're going to have to stay 6 feet apart with masks on. So, I guess as an introvert,
honestly, we finished like shooting before the quarantine.
But also,
we had finished shooting before the quarantine, so like I think we just had to edit it, and like doing that at home wasn't that huge of a barrier or like limitation. So I think like our organization and like our like group work made it possible for us to not really be affected as much as we could have or other people have. So I think that was good, and I think it's all due to our organization and collaboration.
Yeah, pretty much what Omar and Daniel said. But I guess I'm just happy that we did, like, stuff happens, like it is what it is. But I'm just happy that we did what we could. That's there's no regret. It's not like we did anything wrong or we left it out. It's like, oh gosh, well, we should have done this, we should have done that. We did what we could, and that's what matters at the end of the day for me.
You're muted. You're muted.
Yeah. This is for Hasan.
Oh.
Hi, Hasan. Great job, man. And Omar, I loved it. Daniel, great job. Hasan, this question is for you. As a director, how much confidence or how much freedom did you give to the actors, and how was this relation with the actor and the director?
Excellent question. Thank you for asking. Originally, when we started shooting, when we started casting for actors, when we started looking, we already had a brief idea, because KS is a small school. There isn't a big pool of fish to chase for. we sort of had the idea of the stereotypes. The Evan is sort of small. He represents like the weaker power. Ozzy is big. Sebastian's also physically big, but he would be the more submissive character. And then we have Daniela and so forth. And we have all these actors so fit for the role. I was so confident with how they could do. And especially when we saw the audition, it was just like, it was very fascinating to watch like the emotion and the ability these actors have naturally. Most of the kids at our school already partake drama with Miss Humor. They just participate in any play or some sort of acting nature. And this generally helped all of us because they were so enthusiastic about being on in front of the big screen in like KS at least. And for me, the most important thing is giving the actors as a director, giving the actors their own bit of freedom. Of course, there's what I want them to do, but over the time, I started learning like how to deal with actors better. Of course, I'm not the expert here. Mr. Hume here and there would tell me how to like not just tell them how to voice things or how to like do things. It's more give them that like loose feeling and being able to express themselves in a way so that it's not that I just enforce an idea onto them, but just with their experimentation, they can show me a new idea in their own, and then that could inspire me to do something else. Perhaps how Ozzy can like raise his voice, or how he can like punch, and then as opposed to like me saying Ozzy just shove, but then Ozzy punches, I'm like, oh wait, that's way better than I thought it was. So all this like it's kind of like this happy accident nature, and it was very consistent for like the very first half of the film when we had like the school scene that was just perfectly planned. We had everyone on set. When we had like the shooting done at my house and so forth, I still had this whole like way of dealing with the actors was a more confident nature, letting them do what they can. But this does come at the expense of giving the actors too much freedom sometimes, to the point that maybe it may take like a lot of retakes till they actually grasp what they want, like what you have to do. Sometimes an actor, it really is about perception and about the context of the scene. In the second half of the film, it's a lot more creepier. There's a lot more mask, a lot more choreography and so forth. And it's just like some actors like Eric and Vova, it was their first time on scene at the house, and they had to adjust. Like they're not like actors compared to everyone else in the audition. And this is why first of all they're masked, because like it's not anything that we're asking them a big favor for to represent a very like facial, very emotional person. In fact, they're perfectly fit for the role. It's the fact that they're not that emotion, like there's not much emotion that they fit the blackguard stereotype. But it does come at the expense that they feel free to do a lot of things with a character, and this can like contradict what we want to do with the overall blackguard like message. For example, Eric can sometimes, well, Vova can sometimes like be more of like this Joker, like Batman Joker stereotype, and he might perceive that as a blackguard. Or Eric can be more of like this like Russian hitman. So like there's this contrast, and I let that contrast pass through because I felt at the end of the day it's nice to have this diversity and not just have everyone like a stormtrooper in Star Wars where they're all identical to each other.
Right.
But of course, yeah, yeah.
Great job, man. Congratulations, Mr. Hume. Great job. Thank you. Mhm.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Jim. Thank you, Hasan. Daniel. Goodbye. I'm gonna leave the meeting now. Hasan, you talked way too much, bro.
I have to say what I gotta say. But yeah, thank you, Mr. Hume, for everything throughout the year, throughout these 2 years. I have to thank my entire cast, my crew, Daniel, Omar already left, but Jesse even, if he's with us. And like, yeah. Yeah, just really thank everyone because it was an unforgettable experience. I think we can all agree on that, and very valuable, and we learned a lot, whether through trial and error, whether through failure. Yeah, at the end of the day, it was a journey. It's a journey that matters, not the destination. So, thank you.
Well, I want to thank you for all the lessons. Last year was really hardcore, but I see what that was. It made our skin really thick. It taught us lessons that not only film students would need, or like film people that will go into the film industry in the future, but lessons that teach stuff about life in general.